Willie, you were pretty upset with the production of the lineup and just kind of the performance overall at GCU. How do you feel they bounce back, especially with a couple of new lineup changes?
At times okay. We were able to put together 8 runs on a Friday night is usually decent. But there's still we got to get some other guys going still. I mean, there was Jax Ryan was a nice spark in there today. Added some life to the offense, but we got to get some of these other guys going that are capable of swinging the bat a little bit better.
Coach, talk a little more about Jax Ryan, because it feels like all the young players on this team have a knack for staying ready in whatever moment they're called on. What do you attribute that to?
Jax Ryan's a kid who's he's a starter on most teams across the country, and he and Matt King were in kind of a dogfight early on in the year and they're both great players. Matt has kind of gone to a whole nother level and has kind of obviously solidified that job as the everyday regular, and I'm not taking his bat out of the lineup with what he's doing. He's just been outstanding, and the great part about Jax is he understands that. He's not happy about it, but he understands that he's just got to stay ready for his opportunities. And I've talked to him several times and just said, man, you're in a tough spot, kid. I get you. You've earned the right to play. It's just those two kids in the middle are just, they're our heart and soul right now offensively, and they're playing great. So, and he gets it, he understands, but I felt, the way he's been swinging it in batting practice and live ABs and in his limited opportunities, I'm like, you know what, this kid needs a shot to get in the lineup. Some of these other guys are getting awful complacent and thinking they're just going to write their name in the lineup every day, and we need a wake-up call on some of those guys. So, bottom line is he added some life to that bottom of the lineup today and did a great job.
Do you think Harrison filled the shoes of Compton tonight?
I'm sorry?
Do you think Harrison filled the shoes of Compton?
Harrison, he's not filling the shoes of anybody. He's just being him. He goes out and plays his game the way he's done it all year long. Been doing a great job at the top of the lineup and putting together solid events.
Can we expect to see Jax Ryan tomorrow?
We're with the way he performed tonight. I'm not gonna paint myself into a corner and guarantee it, but he obviously, again, earned the right to be looked at, and we look at every situation and see if it makes sense to put him in there, and obviously today we felt that was a good opportunity to get him in. If there's the right situation and we feel that lineup looks right with him tomorrow in it, then he'll be in there. But I would say there's a solid chance.
Another night of Ben going 100+ pitches. This time got him through 6 1/3, 3 runs, 7 hits. What has allowed him to be so effective and work so much for you guys going, what a traditional Friday starter would go 100+ every week?
The great part about Benny's performance tonight, I thought, was he had a rocky first. They came out swinging the sticks pretty good, and that team can swing the bat so good a little bit. And the way it started, I'm like, man, they're getting some good swings off of him there in the first. Usually that's the second, third time through where they start getting better swings, and so obviously that was a little concerning coming out. We're like, man, they're right on a lot of his stuff right now. But the way he settled in and battled and competed and got us through a little bit more than 6 innings and really kept him at bay after the first inning was phenomenal. He got himself into trouble there, and was that the 5th where he had a couple walks and 2 leadoff walks. I'm like, oh boy. But he did a great job limiting the damage, only giving up 1 right there. So that was a gutty performance on his part, top to bottom.
Did you or Jeremy have anything for him at the end of that first? Or I know you've really allowed these guys to kind of mentally reset themselves after a bad inning.
I didn't know. I whether Jeremy said something to him or not, I'm not sure. But basically all I said when he came in was, hey, that's all they get. That's all they get. There's your, and kind of, in other words, reset the mind and go back out, keep attacking. So he did a good job of that.
Lucas Kelly a moment ago talked about how he's had a rough go of things so far, but tonight he was terrific, and then in 2/3 with 3 strikeouts. What did you make of his performance?
For Lucas to say he's had a tough go raises my eyebrows a little bit. If that's how he feels that he's pitched, man, I'd love to see him when he thinks he's good, because I thought he's been pretty dang good so far this year. It's just there's times where you know, we've been trying to get, you know, a middle guy to bridge to that back end. And today I'm like, I'm not gonna wait around. I'm just gonna go straight to him. And if we gotta use our two big bullets, you know, out of the pen today, so be it. And we'll worry about tomorrow. And you know, the great thing about both Lucas and Carlone tonight is they were very efficient. They got in, they got out, they didn't throw extra pitches, so that helps them with the possibility of them being available tomorrow.
Coach, circling back to Jacobs, he just talked about how he had to kind of turn away from his fastball after the first time through. How have you seen his off-speed grow throughout the season and how it's developed since, you know, Ohio State and now?
I think today was probably the best control I've seen of splitting, or change up, split change, whatever you want to call it. You know, he's been, I don't want to say without that, but he hasn't been able to throw that for strikes a whole lot until today. It was really good. He was throwing it for strikes, putting it where he wanted to, using it for chase when he needed to, and then throwing it for a strike when he needed to quite a bit. So that's when he has that pitch working. I don't think we threw but maybe, you know, a handful of sliders and breaking balls today. It was mostly fastball split. But when he has that split working, it's a whole nother pitch that makes him very difficult.
What allowed him to have that pitch working tonight?
You'd have to ask him. I'm not sure. You know, some days a split is a tough pitch to throw and control at times. And when it's on, man, it's a tough pitch to hit. So it was on today. I don't know if he or Jeremy made some adjustments with it, but it was pretty good today.
Ben mentioned after the game that going forward, you guys kind of want to play for each other even more to build this momentum towards the postseason. How do you feel like your pitchers and your hitters kind of complementing each other tonight?
Well, you know, we understand that our offense is better when we get on and off the field quicker, and get our boys back to the bat racks and keep the other team on the field longer. Obviously, you would like to pencil it out that way. It doesn't always work that way, but you know, bottom line is these guys understand the importance of picking each other up. We've been preaching on the offensive side of the ball. Like, you know, today again, it was 6-3 going into the sixth, and we had a couple of zeros offensively, and it seemed like, oh boy, here's that lull again. You know, we were able to scratch out a couple of runs late to add on, which was big, but just the importance of knowing those add-on runs for our staff is big, and they did a good job of that tonight. And then, you know, obviously playing defense behind our guys, and you know, it's a full team effort at the end of the day. There's not two sides, pitching and offense, that we're pointing fingers at each other. We're in this together, and we know we complement each other when we're on our game.
Is there anything specific you want to see this team either find or maintain as they kind of push towards postseason baseball?
We're not so much worried about postseason as it is for tomorrow's game. We can't look ahead to that for one game at a time, and just continue to be focused and locked in each day. Again, not look ahead. You know, continue to attack the zone from a pitching standpoint, and you know, control the zone from an offensive standpoint. We still chased too many pitches in my mind below the zone today that got ourselves out a little bit. And we really make an emphasis on making the pitches be up in the zone. We're a pretty dang good hitting team, but when we don't, we're just another weak contact, roll over, you know, that type of team, and we're better than that. So my frustrations have been voiced on that. They understand from an offensive standpoint where I see that we can get to. If we weren't capable of doing it, I wouldn't get frustrated. But I know what these kids are capable of doing because they've done it before, and then they just kind of sometimes lose focus on that. And for me, it's my job to make sure to crack the whip and get them right back into hopefully continuing to stay with the approach. So it's a challenge. It's a daily challenge, but these guys are capable of doing something special.
Kean was able to get a couple of bases tonight and run around a little bit, and that was the first time he'd done it since coming back from the injury. How have you seen him progress, not just from a hitting standpoint, but from a base running standpoint, and what does that mean to the team if you just have another asset on the bases?
It's been a slow burn for him. That's a frustrating injury when you have that high ankle sprain. You know, sometimes it's day to day. You feel good one day and it's sore the next. And, I think it has hampered him a little bit offensively with his swing, not being able to fire into that front side a whole lot. But it was great to see him take it upon himself and steal a couple bags today. That tells me he's starting to feel a lot better with it, and just to have his, not only his offense, but just the dynamic player that he is starting to come back in full swing is, it's going to be big for us down the stretch.
Harrison's power numbers have started to jump out recently after a kind of a slow start in that area to start the season. I think he has 10 or so extra base hits in his or 8 or so extra base hits in his last 10 games. He said last week that he was swinging a heavier bat. He said he was using Jacob Tobias's bat. I just wanted to ask if that was something that you suggested, or if there's something in specific that you've seen that have kind of raised his power numbers recently.
I did not suggest anything of the sort. I would never suggest anything of the sort. These kids have minds of their own, and they think that things work. Thank you for sharing that with me. I just scratch my head and I'm like, man, you're hitting. Okay. Why are we changing stuff right now? I don't know. That one's a head scratcher to me. Look, I've said this before. Landon Harrison has a tremendous set of hands and bat to ball and a unique set of skills that you just don't find every day. I've told him I don't care if you hit homers. I don't need you to hit homers. I need you to just be you and get base hits and get on base and have quality at bats like you do. The home runs will come, the power numbers will come as he continues to get older. Maybe a heavier bat works a little bit too, but I hope that the power thing doesn't get in his head, because those are just going to come as a result of good swings, which he does frequently. And now that the weather's starting to warm up, we don't need heavier bats to hit home runs. We just put good swings on the ball and they'll happen. So, that's college kids for you. I'm sure they're in there ribbing each other about whatever else they're doing, but I had not heard of the heavier bat until now.
He told us he committed to ASU, I think, as a sophomore, and obviously you've developed him, and that's kind of how you've dealt with a lot of these recruits. But specifically for him as a guy who comes from a very good line of major league lineage, and for you as somebody who's played in the major leagues, have you been able to really reach him as a guy who's almost expected in his family to make the major leagues?
I think that's unfair to expect anyone as the best 700 players in the world. For you to, or for him to have those kind of expectations, I think that's unfair. If the kid just continues to play baseball and be who he is, I think he's got a good shot to go a long way and play for a long, long time. Like I said, I'm not bashful to say that he has a special, unique set of skills where he's able to nose the strike zone at this young of an age. Bat to ball skills are phenomenal. He just has an idea of what he's doing. He's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. He's a phenomenal hitter. So the other areas of his game, will continue to develop. Speed, strength, those type of things, I think will be, as he continues to mature and get older, he's going to progress in those areas. And by the time he leaves here, he's going to be an absolute unit of a player, and somebody's going to get a good one. But until then, we'll just keep him away from the heavier bats and whatever else people are throwing at him. And, I'm sure they'll probably, after today's base running mistake, they'll probably try to give him different shoes tomorrow. Maybe he can run faster and not trip over the bag or whatever it was. So who knows what they'll try next with him, but bottom line, if he sticks with who he is as a player, he's got a very bright future in this game.
Was there anything you told him about those skills when you first started recruiting him a couple of years ago and saw him just as a baby high schooler?
No. I can't take any credit for that. That's how he's been raised. That's Coach Denny at Castile. Those guys did a phenomenal job developing him to be a very good hitter. And when he got here, I'll be honest with you, I haven't said a word to him. He's kind of like Ryan Campos, like where I'm not messing with that swing. You just go be you, kid, and we'll get you in the lineup and you go do your thing. And if we need to fix something, we'll fix it. But until then, sometimes the best coaching advice you can give is absolutely nothing. And with him, from an offensive standpoint, hey, you go do your thing. You got a special gift, and I'm not going to mess it up and overcoach you at times. Sometimes it's just best to let a kid do what he's good at, and right now he's pretty good at that.
What's it like having your two middle infielders producing day in and day out?
Awesome. Those two guys have just been phenomenal. And again, Matt King and Kyle Walker are just there right now. They're our heart and soul of our offense. They're playing with energy. They're playing with leadership skills. They're taking over, which is pretty outstanding considering the company that they're in that lineup. You know, you combine that, like I said, with a kid like Jax Ryan, who's hitting 340. And having a hard time getting the lineup. If you got to feel bad for someone, it's that kid. He just continues to keep his mouth shut and work hard and wait for his opportunities. And when he gets them, he continues to produce. So, you know, I gotta continue to find ways to get him in the lineup as well. So those guys have just been doing a great job.
Has it surprised you much, the continued production of that role? I think we look back, it was 4 shortstops in 4 years for you. I think the second base position is pretty similar. Has that surprised you that you're able to continuously, you know, have the turnover at that position, and yet there really hasn't been a lot of learning curve in terms of the two guys, whoever's in that spot, working together?
Well, we take a lot of pride in being able to play on both sides of the bag, shortstop, second base, and make the routine plays. That's kind of our number one motto as infielders, is make the routine plays. You know, keep the innings small, make routine plays, turn to double plays. You know, I think obviously with how the last couple of years have gone with losing middle infielders late in the portal, you know, we've replaced them with really good players as well, and continue to develop our own players as well. And I think what, you know, you could ask Matt and you know, Walk. I think we've done a solid job of fine-tuning some things from a defensive standpoint with both of those guys, and then continue to develop them offensively a good foundation that they've already had. And you know, that's what that's a tribute to our coaching staff. What they do, they work hard with these guys every day, and you know, we're not just about recruiting. We're about, once we get players, we're going to try to develop the heck out of you so you're ready for the next level. Who's the next Luke Keishel, right? Kid gets to pro ball and he's there for a year and a half, not even a year and a half, and he's in the big league. So that's what we try to do with our players. Yes, we're going to get you here, but we're going to make you better. If we can do that, then we're doing our job.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.